This episode is brought to you by our prodigal patrons.
Prodigal's a stupid word.
No, it's a great word. Second definition, adjective, having or giving something on a lavish scale.
I didn't need all that. I hate that you came prepared.
Always.
For as little as $1 a month, you can support the show and get access to perks like early access first plays, show notes, because we do take notes, unedited episodes of what you're about to hear. You'll hear all the in-between bits, and even the famous Patreon poll submissions.
The best.
So if you haven't been feeling prodigal enough and want to, join us over at patreon.com/NGP podcast, where you can help support our ongoing efforts to entertain you with retro gaming content.
Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 376, and it is a Patreon poll.
Splash.
Should we call it a Patreon lake instead?
Nope.
Maybe next time.
Here are 10 things that you need to know about Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay. What
Okay,
are we,
I hate top
BuzzFeed?
10 lists.
You know most of them. I'm going to share them, get your feedback quickly at each step of the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
rapid fire emotional reactions.
rapid-ish fire. I know, because Kenny, you'll give me a one-word thing with a facial expression that doesn't translate well over an audio format.
That's why
All right,
people
so
should go to youtube.com/whatever our thing is.
the first thing I'd like to share with you is that this is just around the corner, releasing on May 12th, just days away.
Dude, that's so soon.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was so soon.
Oh my god.
That's disruptive to life.
Yeah, May 12th. I'll come back to when are you playing it? Are you a day one, or we'll get there.
Day of the
number
week. What day of the week? What day of the week?
You know,
is that?
let's talk about it right now. May 12th. I mean, I can look. That's a Friday. Perfect.
Take it off.
Okay.
So day one for you, Nolan?
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be easily playable. It's not gonna be one of those issues.
Yeah.
Kenny?
I'll stay up late that night watching it.
Yeah, she's gonna play immediately.
She's gonna freak.
That's so much fun. And I'm not gonna do it right away. I'll wait.
Sure.
Not because of any bugs. I think it's gonna be completely fine. But I like, if anybody wants to create a walkthrough or anything like that, then I'll
Yeah,
play
you don't
it.
play games in the authentic way. That's why you day one, so you
Okay.
can do it fresh.
I'm gonna buy it day one, but most likely in the days after, because I think it will be there, I'm going to emulate it on my Steam Deck, because that's my preferred system over the Switch.
It won't take it long.
Yeah, I bet
to
it'll
get
be
there.
very quick for that.
It will be, because they were bragging about how Breath of the Wild 1 runs perfectly on it now. So
As long as you buy it too, I've got no qualms.
Let's move on. Okay, number 2, Ganondorf is back in the game, and Matt Mercer of Critical Role fame and many other is the voice actor.
love W
that.
choice. Great.
Ganondorf wasn't even in Breath of the Wild, maybe mentioned, or maybe you could
Wasn't even
find, I don't
mentioned,
know,
I don't think.
Easter eggs, but
Can we
Yeah.
just celebrate the success of nerddom?
What do you mean?
Like, who gets big enough to get a role? I guess in a video game,
Oh,
but
you're talking about
I
Matt?
don't know. Just the whole Critical Role story arc is
I'll
a
tell you
cool
this.
one, and props to him.
Kenny, I can feel that a little bit because anytime I've watched their animated show of their first D&D campaign that they created in a living room together, and now it's an Amazon animated thing, I watched the whole introduction because it just feels of like, these are nerds that were playing Dungeons and Dragons and now are completely successful off of it. It's great.
It's wild. It's the coolest thing.
Number 3, the big mechanic seems to be fusing. It's all about fusing anything and everything together, gluing it together, and seeing what happens.
I think this is going to be the rock traveling of the first game, where you get on a rock and it would fling across. This is going to be the new experimentation mechanic. It's going to be so fun.
Okay, I'm glad you're excited about it. That when it's open-ended, do whatever you want, glue anything together and see what happens. That's not inspiring to me because it seems so overwhelming. That's like that whole thing of like games that have like infinite amount of recipes that you can mix together and create something.
Sure.
I don't like that.
I don't like that. But when there's physics involved and Link's body is in the physics and things can happen that it looks so stupid.
I'm hyped.
Yeah.
Fun experimentation. Like, yeah, I'm about to do some wonky stuff.
Number 4, the thing that is nice is that with the fusing mechanic, you can create blueprints of things that you fused together so that you can have quick recall later.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's
so they
awesome.
thought they had to go through and think about every single possible combination you can make.
Yeah.
And then give it properties. Some of them have unique properties.
Number 5, I'm pretty sure that it has been confirmed, at least through those that have play tested it, that weapon breakage is back. Y'all knew it was going to be back.
We told you.
It's not a surprise.
We
I know.
told you it wasn't going anywhere.
But what I have heard is that it can be mitigated through fusing. So if you stick anything to a weapon, it protects it a lot more than it would otherwise. So like
anything.
Yeah, a
you
mushroom.
Stick a marshmallow to your sword.
Yes, it will increase its durability. That's the word. Number 6, something that is nice. I mentioned recipes earlier. There was cooking in Breath of the Wild. There's cooking again here, but there are now recipe cards, so you can actually track and keep the recipes and easily get back to those.
That was a complaint of mine.
Yeah, they didn't have that in Breath of the Wild. Number 7, it looks like from the trailers, some champions are returning. Some of the champions from Breath of the Wild are going to partner up with you in this one.
I like that.
Okay.
Number 8, at some point, it seems Link is returning to a version of Hyrule Castle. We all saw that in that last trailer.
I saw it, and I didn't think too much into it because I want it to surprise me, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it means.
It looks good.
But it's really cool, like a restored version, you know, because so that's cool. Number 9, we still have, this is I think what Nolan's most interested in, but like we still have no word whether or not there are traditional dungeons like old school Zelda dungeons here, but it does seem like shrines are more integrated in the world this time. So it's not just like you find a thing and teleport to a shrine, but like they're actually a part of the world, more organic.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm most interested in because I miss traditional dungeons. I know I'm not going to get it. Based on the trailer, it did look like you were on some, not beasts. Maybe it's not Beast Guardians or whatever this time. Maybe it's something else. But I don't think it's going to be what I'm like looking for. But I do hope the shrines are more integrated because the shrines were just a little thrown together last time.
My guess is that there are probably a handful of actual traditional dungeons because they're wanting to like service that while still go the direction they're wanting to. That's my guess, but that's total guess. And then number 10, finally, the thing that you need to know about Tears of the Kingdom is that we will all be playing it. Nolan is taking off and doing a day 1. Kenny's doing day 1, but later that evening, I guess, and he's just watching it, he'll be able to play it after she 100%'s it. Is that when you can play?
That's when you're allowed.
That's when after she's done with it like 3 times, then I'll maybe pick it up.
And then I'll play it eventually. But we're all going to be playing it. So that's... And when we play it, we're going to have fun playing this. Ooh, Barracuda.
Yikes.
Like in our retro game of the week, Bassin's Black Bass with Hank Parker.
Overview.
Bassin's Black Bass with Hank Parker is exactly what it sounds like. This is a fishing game, notably the first fishing genre title that we've played on the podcast.
Interesting.
Came out for the Super Nintendo in 1994. And the bent of this game is that you're an amateur fisherman.
Speak for yourself.
Trying to make it big time. So you're competing. You're not just fishing like to catch the biggest fish or to, I don't know what else you do with fishing, feed your family or something. But you're fishing, in this case, competitively, as part of a tournament circuit where you go through a series of 4 different tournaments with various lakes, and you just catch as many fish as you can in a day and see if you are the champion. It's pretty straightforward.
Fishing is a funny game genre, but like that's what this is labeled as, and yeah, it's the first one. But it's not the first RPG we've played.
It's also not an RPG that we played.
It's not an
Yes, it
RPG
is.
at all.
I mean, you're playing the role of a fisherman.
You're role playing as
No,
a
there's
fisher
a
person.
lot
You could
of
also
things
say
in
it's a
here.
sim game.
Right,
You
then
could
every
play-
game
yeah.
is a,
No.
I'm role playing
There
as a
are
person
reasons.
playing a video game in the genre of
No.
platformer.
It's an RPG.
Like, come on.
it's an RPG. You can level up, you can upgrade,
Yeah.
you can make decisions that are influencing the story and impacting
RPG
the world
music.
around you. RPG music.
We'll get there.
Okay, I did not expect this direction from you.
No, me either.
Okay, fishing IRL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done it?
I've done it more
Of
recently
course.
than both of you.
That's not something to brag about.
That's
Yeah, it is.
probably true.
Well,
I
I'll tell
haven't
you why.
gone recently.
I mean, it was a big thing growing up. My grandfather loved it, and my dad likes it. And my dad sells boats, like fishing boats, like to the guys that like do these tournaments in real life. And so he goes to those tournaments often. So like I got to go to these things, and they win a lot of money, by the way. These
Like,
guys,
what's a lot of money?
a
Wait,
lot
your
of
dad
money.
used to have a boat. Your dad used to
mean-
sell boats.
That's what I just said. He still sells boats.
I'm sorry. I'm just going through like history. All these things are coming up. Sorry, my mind was somewhere else. This is where my
Fishing
mind
is
was.
close to me. IRL is what I'm saying. Growing up, and I would go and enjoy the crap out of it. Crappy.
Nice. This is where my mind was. I was thinking about my feelings towards hunting.
Yeah, which are
Okay.
negative.
Well, fishing is hunting of the sea, right?
Yeah, but it's more
Sort
fun.
of.
Okay. Here's the thing. Time to make some people angry. I don't have strong feelings about this, but I think hunting largely is a weird thing. Not just because I don't do it, right? Sports is also a weird thing. That's because I don't do it. But hunting is a weird thing because I think it's weird to go and murder things for sport. But I think that especially and here's where I draw the line. If you can pet it, then you should then don't go
Then you should
murder
shoot it.
Can pet it or should pet it?
Yeah, they'll hurt you.
Like, yeah, okay, should I guess pet it?
Okay.
and so like the whole deer thing, I get overpopulation and feeding like food for you.
Yeah.
That's great. Doing it for sport, that's where I think it gets weird. Here's the thing though, when it comes to fish, you're not petting fish, right? So I'm more in the game of hunt the fish. Like that's where my mind was when you were talking about your dad selling boats, and so I just wanted to let you know that I'm not for hunting for the sport, but hunting fish, you can do whatever you want with those guys. They have really tiny brains.
Kenny, do you fish at the lake? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
You do.
Okay, nice.
Hold on. Do you wear floaties at the lake?
To fish? He's in the water fishing with floaties on.
Why would I wear
I will say
floaties?
one time, Kenny and I, maybe the only time I was at the lake with Kenny, which is ridiculous. We were driving a jet ski. Were we boat? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And hundreds of little minnows or fish were like
Lake minnows.
Thousands.
were jumping up behind us, following.
we got
us.
into like slightly shallower water than we realized
Yeah.
on like a spawning bed where
Oh
it
yeah,
was just
they're
like
everywhere.
like a sea of fish jumping in
Well,
all in our
lake.
wake, and it was a cool moment.
I don't
We
think
kissed.
hunting is weird. I don't think it's weird. I think it's boring. That's why I wouldn't do it. It's so boring. And fishing's similar. It can be pretty boring, but at least you're on the pretty water. And if you do get a fish, it's hype. It's very hype.
But like you just, those few words you just said, if you do, that's what hunting and fishing is all about. The more often than not, when I talk to hunters, fishers, that were gone for an entire weekend doing something, they come back and usually their report is, I saw something. I saw something.
You just know bad hunters and bad
No.
fishers.
How
Tell
many
that
did
to
you catch?
Greg.
Then nothing.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
so
but
it
we
was a bad
saw
trip. No, it was great.
like that's not my kind of thing. All right, so fishing IRL, I haven't fished IRL. It's probably since I was like 8 or 6. I don't
Or
even,
ever,
I
maybe.
can't tell it. No, I did.
We
I've
need
got
to
a picture.
remedy this.
We don't.
Everybody's got a cute
No.
picture of the kid.
I
by the
think we
wall.
need to remedy this.
Okay, so Nolan or
too.
Kenny, who has fished most recently? Nolan said him,
Me,
but
for
Kenny,
sure.
you do it at the lake.
Probably Nolan, but not by like a stretch.
Well, no, if you do it at the lake, maybe you.
Okay.
I
Fish
mean,
last
within
year?
the year for sure. Yeah.
Oh, then you.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, I do have something to confess. Although I haven't been fishing recently,
Okay.
I have played Bassin's Black Bass not only this week, but when I was young and growing up. This was a rental for me.
He
Totally that
wished
kinda
he was
game.
a fisherman.
This is one of those games that you like your mind forgets until
Yeah.
you see it, and it's
Well,
it's like
I had known
flashback
that
to
I had
Vietnam.
rented a fishing game, and I hadn't remembered which one. But when I got in this week, it all
of course it was.
came
one.
back to me. And I, as a kid, I don't think I caught anything, but there was something iconic. I mean, like a fishing game is a perfect rental because you don't want to
Yes.
own that, right?
You don't need save data. You don't. Yeah, none of that. You just play it.
Yeah. And then lastly, I believe it or not, this is a Patreon pool. I know that that's hard to believe, but this
I
game was
totally
submitted
believe it.
by Super Garbage Day.
It's kind of a great Patreon pick.
is.
Honestly, it
For
just
so many reasons.
it works. Yeah.
Patreon pools either need to be incredible games that we're all excited about, or
Yeah.
so unique that
Yes.
we would probably have not played it
Off the wall.
otherwise.
Or something that was a passion game for someone, or something that is a little bit trolly. Like, this one sort of fits all of those categories all at exactly the same time. It works for me.
Gameplay.
I don't know how many fishing games that you've played, but this one's probably similar to those in that
Yeah.
Are fishing?
you're fishing.
Well, I played a
well,
lot of fishing
sure.
mini games. Every like
Minnow games.
JRPG has a fishing mini game.
It is
Okay.
it is a sub mechanic in so many
It is.
cases.
Sure.
And it's usually
even-
good.
And there's some like very notorious fishers. There's Link, and there is Big the Cat, and there is, I just wanted to say Big the Cat. And
those
so,
two.
Zacharias?
oh my God, wait. Do you remember how bad Kenny was at fishing for the longest
Yes.
time?
I
in that
don't
game?
want to talk about that element of
just-
that game.
A reaction mini
And
game.
he would watch me, and I would catch
He'd
these
be like, "I hate
legendary
you."
things.
I'm still so mad. I'm still
so
so mad.
good.
That's still one of the few things I haven't accomplished in that game is specific fish caught.
Even in recent Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy 15, fishing was a thing. That's super interesting. That in a lot
Yeah.
of games, RPGs,
Yeah.
often you've got an option of fishing. Stardew Valley, so many of them.
Yeah,
have it.
like I'm saying, it shows up all over the place, but as a main game, it's not as common, at least for guys like us. But yes, it's similar to maybe other fishing games, but in this one, you're even getting to drive the boat, baby. I that was a nice surprise.
It's
trolling
not as common because we generally, and there's a little bit of exceptions in Nolan, at least you and I's story, but like we generally come from the nerdosphere, not the woodsosphere. And there was a fairly big appetite for sort of rural style hunting and fishing games that had a very
Duck
specific
hunt.
audience that were big and have been big for a long time. So
Yeah, for
like
sure.
I just think it's worth acknowledging that there's absolutely an audience for these games.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying that.
My point is that you probably will come into this game having some kind of understanding because you've played a fishing mini game at least in one of the games that you played. And this one, you're driving the boat, you're fishing. Those are the two primary things you're doing, but you begin this game in an amateur tournament at Green Valley Lake. You get to set your name, and you are just what I said, an amateur fisher, and you have all day from like 7 in the morning until 4:30 in the evening to go out on the lake to attempt to catch 5 bass that will be put into the live well, and that they will be weighed at the end of the day, and their weight collectively, those 5 will be put up against all the other fishers that day. And if you have the most, or I think maybe top 3, you get to move on to the next day.
Yeah,
and
top
the next
3
lake.
move on.
Mario Kart style.
It's worth noting that the time in the game is almost real time to life.
Dude.
I pulled out my timer because I was like, is this minute by minute? Like, do you have to play a 12-hour day? It's not, but it feels
It's
like
a little. It should have been sped up a little more, I think, because it did drag on, which is in line with IRL fishing.
Right, like
it's
not
just
sim,
a fishing
but
sim.
There's a lot of other sim-like features that they put in here to make it feel like IRL fishing.
Yeah, it is a game for fishers, a lot of it, because so much of the feel, not only the length of the day and the length of the amount of time, but how you can be casting for an hour in game time or out of game time and not catch anything, like
or
that.
ever catch any bass.
Right.
You'll catch other stuff, probably pike, but bass, they're rare. They're like, it's kind of a hard game, honestly. At the end of the
Nolan
day,
was
like, you
bad
really
at
wanna,
this game, is
if
what
you
I'm
wanna
hearing.
win, everybody was
sure.
mad at this game, Kenny. You know it. I know you
No,
were.
bad.
No, I said bad, not mad.
Bad and mad.
Bad and
okay.
mad.
Envision this: you are on a boat, overhead view, and the day begins. You leave the dock. If you know how to drive a boat, Kenny got stuck in the dock immediately.
Don't put me on blast.
Got stuck in the dock immediately. Had to cut
it out of the
video.
first play so no one would know my shame, and you're putting me on blast.
I love
How
that
long
the
do you
game
think
lets
he
you
was
do
there? The whole day till 4:30, and then he checked in.
like, "Can we
It was
reschedule?"
unbelievable that Kenny got stuck on the dock immediately. But you try to drive your boat straight out of the dock, and most people can. And then you have a pretty large lake that you're able to drive around. You've got in the middle, you've kind of got shallows and deep, and then around the edges, you've got some kind of, like maybe lilies over here in this region. You've got reeds over in this region. You've got the shade of trees over in this region, and you go and find a spot you want to fish. You've at the same time in the bottom right, you've got this depth finder that is trying to locate fish that you're going over. When you find a spot you want to fish, you stop the boat and you go and do this different mode. It's the actual fishing mode where it's still an overhead view, which is really nice. And you're able to look out over the water, little square rectangular region in front of you, and you can kind of see through the water the fish, the shadows at least of the fish that you hope to catch. You mark the spot, you choose the lure. There's a lot here. You choose the lure. Do you want a bright or natural looking lure? Do you the right lure for the right area for the right fish that you're fishing for? And then you cast out. You have to then the reason why I'm taking time here is because I feel there is a lot more here in this fishing game than what you would get in most fishing games.
Of course. The fact that you choose the spot that you want to fish is so realistic, because you go close to reeds, like you're saying, or lily pads, and of course there are going to be fish congregating there, and so
and not just choose the point that you want to fish, choose the point you want to fish based on the weather and the time of the day. Like, you want to go to the shadowy or the deeper spots when it's hotter out there, the sun is full on in the heat of the day. You want, like, it's amazingly good in its simplistic Super Nintendo kind of way at dynamically giving you that whole thoughtful fishing experience.
And you're going to be an idiot and hate yourself, but you're going to find yourself saying, they're not biting here. And you're going to take your boat and go to a different location.
Like the real lake.
That's honestly, you're going to, throughout the day, you're going to travel to multiple different locations. After you catch one fish in one location, the other fish are less likely to bite because they saw their friend just got taken. Like, this is all real life RPG. I'm with you now, Nolan.
Okay,
this is an RPG.
Thank you. Do you think Hank had a lot of consultation with the devs for this? He had to have. Because it's
you think
way too
Hank's the
realistic.
professional here?
No,
think
he
that-
got slapped on for money reasons.
Somebody that knew what they were talking about, though, definitely did. Because
Oh, it
there
was
are too many-
researched. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's amazing to me is that these games, I believe, were produced in Japan. These aren't even American
Yeah,
games. I
right,
think
right.
when it came, this was Super Black Bass 2 when it was released in
Yeah,
Japan, and then
yeah.
when it came over here, like Kenny said, they slapped a
Parker's
fisherman's
name
name
on
on there, and that's all
Right.
these fishing games in America have a fisherman's name slapped on it. Like
It's like Tiger
Well,
Woods
and even-
off.
you know,
Even the
yeah,
Bassins that's a name. Like that's a brand name.
a brand name. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Once you do get into the top-down casting gameplay section, for me this week, that's where the frustration started to set in, because up until this point, everything you
Not
laid
at the
out, I was
dock?
Actual
impressed.
fishing.
I was
Not
impressed.
at the dock.
No, the dock was not final boss for me like it was for Kenny. But okay, so you have a meter on the right that is like your cast meter and your reel in meter, and that's simple and fine enough. So you cast it out, and then you can see the fish swimming out there like you saw on the radar, and I still kind of don't know when they're trying to hit the lure or if they're just swimming past it. And
You need tactile feedback.
yeah,
You need a little vibration.
it
He
helps.
needs a little
That's one of the,
haptics.
wait, you just reminded me that vibrating controllers was such a revolutionary thing for fishing games,
Best
dude.
thing.
Holy
Dude,
crap.
for all games, honestly,
For all
like,
games,
I
but
love
that's
that.
so important here. So yeah, maybe honestly, dude, yeah, that's kind of an maybe
I could have
aging
sat by
factor,
you and
but-
shake you every
Yeah, that would
every
help.
time that it bites.
But yeah, so it was a guessing game a lot of the time, and it kind of didn't get better. So I'm wondering if there's a secret that I didn't figure out,
it's not a secret.
or if it's just not luck, but just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. You gotta get good.
No, that's
Kenny
not
got-
it.
Kenny got good because he eventually abandoned John. Is that the guy's name? The guy that
Yeah.
offers to help you out at the beginning, and he went
Yeah.
for a better fishing caddy by the name of Fisherman Johnston.
I know. Leak?
That went for me. So I actually helped to guide him after the first play a little bit, and because of my legacy experience and looking up the manual this week, I was able to find out all that. Honestly, it would be nice to have haptic feedback, because the only thing you're going off of is a visual on that, and you've got to watch the fish grab the bait.
You say that though. For this being the Super Nintendo, the fact that the visuals could imply things like the depth of the water that the fish was in, or how deep your lure
true.
was,
Sure,
or
it's
some of those
good.
other things.
Yeah.
Like, Nolan, I agree. It took some getting used to what you were looking for, but I think once you learned it, it did a pretty good job showing you what was happening.
I don't know. I think I still disagree overall with that, because yes, it's still impressive that you can see the fish like kind of turning on a dime, and like, you know, it has like real fish behavior in the animations and stuff, but it really is the feeling. I think you just blew my mind with that. I didn't even think about a SNES controller not having vibration.
Yeah. I'm with Kenny, though. I think it did well with what it was able to show you, especially as you learn those things. In each of the fish, it's just the amount of detail, honestly, that went into this is kind of ridiculous, because like each fish does operate differently, act differently, even when you're reeling them in. Some will jump out of the water, and you have to stop reeling at that point, or they'll come loose. But I think bass are the only ones that will just stick their head out of the water and like wiggle around, or they'll do that and jump out of the water. They operate differently, and so from the top of the water, this was what I had a hard time with, was being able to determine which fish was which. I could usually tell the small bass, but when you got to bigger fish, they looked like the other fish that you can catch, but that don't do anything for you except waste your time.
Yeah,
And
northern
so-
pike were easy to
That's
identify.
that's pretty real life though.
Honking long.
I get
You
it.
can't always tell.
I'm not playing video games to experience real life.
Well, If you're playing Hanks Parker's.
No, because you can't see
Hanks
a top-down view. There are some fishing games where you don't have the top-down view. You just cast out and hope there's a fish there.
I bet there's
Like,
a
that's-
fisherman out there that owns a drone that
Oh my
cheats.
gosh.
That cheats.
Well, don't they wear
Lakewater's not that
some
clear
kind
anyways.
of sunglasses so that you can see through the water?
Do they?
I mean, you just wear
Oakley's?
polarized sunglasses.
Kenny knows. Oakley's.
But-
It's a
Oh, he
specific
has some.
brand of glasses.
He's got them.
I've got polarized sunglasses. Yeah.
Okay. I also want to talk. So not only do the fish operate different, and there's different kinds of fish, and you can waste your time fishing for the wrong fish, but the amount of bait that are options that are available to you are outrageous. And I hate that after this week, I know what a jig and pork is. I never
jig and pork.
wanted to know what a jig and pork is. And then not only do you have these different options of bait that operate differently, you've got the plastic worm, you've got the spinner, you've got all these
Spinner
different
bait,
things.
IRL always. He brought too much bait, I agree. You wouldn't bring that many different
Well, you've got a
kinds
second
IRL.
page. Did you
I
go to the
know.
second page?
Yeah, there's too many.
It's empty at first, but you can get new bait over time. When you go to the second spot, you get 3 or 4 new kinds of bait. And then, Nolan, you don't know this. Kenny does because I mentioned it to him. But something that I kind of like is that there are hidden lures that if you go to certain locations, starting on the second map,
Ultima
if you go
weapon.
to certain locations, you can find hidden lures that are better than the other lures that you have. So on the second one, if you go to the rocks in the top right, there's a certain coordinate, then you find a crayfish lure, and then that's a perfect lure to try to use for future time. But again, all of these lures
Sounds
operate
like an RPG
differently.
to me.
For one, you need to act like it was a bug that fell out of the trees when you're under the trees and operate it like that.
Some just
For
need to
another,
go
you have to pull along the floor. It's crazy.
Yeah, the fact that there is actual technique
Yes.
to using those
That is
different
good.
lures, and that learning that is part of it as well as the strategy. Like this game, when you pick it up, you think this is going to be very simple, and then there's some layers. It's got like
It's not
a lot of
simple.
depth. I found myself thinking and strategizing and feeling like the decisions I made were impacting whether or not I was succeeding, and that's not what I was expecting when I first picked this game up.
And back to the boating aspect or side of the gameplay, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed looking at the depth finder and seeing some activity, but not loving the like location where I was on the lake. And so I was like, let me,
The look and sound of it too, it looks pretty realistic. They made it like real
Yes.
simple and flat and scrolling like an actual like fish finder would do.
it kind of pops off when it didn't. Like there's a lot to it.
Okay. So I don't know if you recall, you can just make it up, but this is what fishermen do. Fishermen and
they
fisherwomen.
tell-
Yeah. What's the biggest bass you caught? Do you know?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Nolan should start because his is the smallest, mine's the medium, and Kenny's is the
Wow.
largest, is my guess. Nolan, you didn't get to the second spot.
And the
I
second
did.
spot had a lot bigger fish.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Mine was not extraordinarily large. My largest bass was 9.6 pounds.
Oh,
That's not bad.
It's not
It's
great.
not great, but it's not bad.
okay.
I caught a 13-pounder. I don't know what it was. It was 13 something.
Okay, you were right. Mine wasn't 9.5. Mine was 9.3. But I didn't think
nice.
it got. Does it get a lot bigger than that? It's a big
they
fish.
get pretty large. There's some big ones.
Kenny's
Largemouth always in there.
bass?
Kenny's is honestly, hold on. I think Kenny, honestly, yours might be the largest bass that was caught this week in the NGP community.
Really?
Golly.
I was gonna mention it in his commentary later, but Keek posted a 12-pounder, and so if you caught a 13-pounder,
Nice.
then you're
Dang, good job,
you're
Kenny.
victorious this week.
Nice.
Aged.
Is Hank Parker dead?
I'm sure, right?
I don't
I-
know.
No.
I mean, it's an aging factor. What? Humans die?
Probably.
Hank, goodness, his Wikipedia page doesn't say. It says is a well-known professional bass fisherman.
Okay, not was, but I can also
Right.
see someone not updating this.
Oh, you think?
I don't know. He's probably a legend if
He's
on a
alive.
game.
He's 70 years old.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We
Nice
should have
job,
had him
Nick.
on as a guest this week.
I know.
He has 13 grandchildren.
You're
should
one
have
of
one
them,
of them
long
on.
lost, Kenny. That's why you love the lake so much.
Yeah, he lives in Union County, South Carolina.
Okay, wow,
Let's
wow,
just-
too much.
Yeah, I was just curious because I always find it funny because, and you said this earlier, but like Japanese games when they come over here, or even some that we make, I guess they'll just tag on, Tiger Woods or the best in the sport to sell the game, and I kind of hate that. I think it's really funny that you get your name on a video game for no reason, just with Hank
Yeah.
Parker, and he's not really.
I think if your name's gonna be on a video game, you got to be like Michael Jackson's Moonwalker and actually have input into the game. And remember
or
how
Michael
involved he
Jordan's.
was in that game?
What was Michael Jordan's? It was so weird.
Oh, that was crazy too.
It was like a platformer or something so strange.
You're dunking basketballs.
Yes,
That was so.
that game was
weird.
weird.
That
but
game was crazy.
it was weird that wasn't a basketball game. But anyways, Hank Parker. Bassin.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace,
So
and Carol.
I mean, you can rest in peace while you're alive.
I did last
You
night.
can. Hopefully, retirement is peaceful, and presumably he's retired.
You think he's
I
still
hope
fishing?
Absolutely.
No, he's
His
70.
back won't allow that. Kenny.
Are you kidding? Fishing is the best old man
My
sport in the
grandpa
whole
did.
world.
Maybe
do it
he's
for
just
a
playing
long
this
time.
game.
Yeah.
That would be sick. if he
Okay,
was like,
you say that, but like
good at it.
there is something sort of timeless about fishing. Like as a genre, this game
Has been around for a
sort of
long time.
universal appeal. Yeah. I mean, like you can call me old fashioned if you want, but like getting out in nature,
I love it. Yeah, I'm with you.
conquering.
I don't
like-
think it's cringe or like
It is.
or
No.
for like the certain kind of man. I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
for everybody.
Hold on. Okay, and I'm fine with that. But it is so phenomenal to me knowing Kenny that there's something within him that wants to conquer. Like you've got this thing within you.
It's in
You
all of us.
That I want to catch a fish, of course.
no,
That I
you,
wanna
you
do
want
bigger
to
than yours,
conquer.
no,
of course.
You want to
want to
conquer the retro
conquer.
gaming podcast space. Yes, you do.
But I feel like that is a different thing. That is a pursuit of intellect, and not
It's
a
a
pursuit
pursuit.
of like Kenny wants to go into the wild and grab something and bite it, like and let blood dribble down his chin.
No,
if we got
I mean
in a plane
little bit.
crash. What's that book called? Hatchet. If we got in a plane
Lost.
crash,
Yeah.
Lost style, Hatchet style, we would be like, "Can he save us?" And he would. He'd build a fire. He would kill a bear, and we'd be like, "All right, cool." And we'd eat the bear
would.
meat.
But it's just
I
I
would
don't
actually
know
love.
if Kenny would be my first pick.
I'm just saying, I would love to get stranded on an island with you guys.
I wouldn't.
Let's do that.
I
Let's do
wouldn't.
that. Let's do that. Next Patreon.
Next
goal.
Patreon goal.
All right.
Dying on an
Stretch
island.
goal.
Let's talk
Get-
about
jump
other.
out of an airplane and survive.
Let's talk about other aging factors. The graphics, we mentioned it a few times. They age. I think they're both completely serviceable and not what you care about when playing a fishing video game. But they work
think-
great.
I think.
I think for the Super Nintendo, these graphics were absolutely amazing.
I think so too.
Like, no, okay, I didn't like the human animations, like the guy at the start talking to you with and he's moving his mouth, like that was terrible.
What about
Don't
when
get me wrong.
that guide shows up and he's like,
Oh
"This,
yeah,
I
your
don't know
little
what
guide
he's
pops
doing."
up. It's creepy. Like there are things that could be better, but the lake itself and getting out there and the different environments and the way they look,
Yes.
the fact that you could see depth and like as the fish and your lure changed to depth,
Their
you could
color
tell
would
it was
change.
happening. And
the pixel art on the lures,
the-
how big they were and detailed they
Yeah.
were, it was good.
the fact that the clouds in the sky were reflecting off the top of the lake as you were boating
Yeah.
around, like for the Super Nintendo, I thought this was an amazing looking game.
Did you get a moment where it was raining and there was like the light music, there was rain, and
Ooh,
it was just
no.
like
wish.
complete, like honestly,
Just like cozy.
yeah, you could take that and then have that music and make a 12-hour loop on YouTube, and people would listen to that for chill because
I'd put it in my ears when I was out actually fishing.
actually fishing.
Bassin
Yeah.
to study and relax to.
Here, talk about the music, Nolan. I think you made a comment earlier that took me
Oh,
off guard when it came to
Okay.
the music.
So when you boot up the game, it like gives you the intro and it's got the bass on screen and some text. That song is, you're going to lie if you disagree with this, 1,000,000,000% JRPG in music. Like you're going to pay at the end and go to sleep on loop. Then the title splash screen also sounded JRPG. Then you get into the name choosing screen to name your character, RPG music. It had really good music that kind of didn't match the theme, but I was okay with it because it was so good and it was very JRPG. Like, I'm sorry, the game's an RPG and you're not going to tell me otherwise. And you're telling me it started in Japan too. They've got a flavor when it comes to games and they added it to this. It's got seasoning all over that bass.
I didn't make any JRPG connections this week. However, I did realize that the music, and now that you're saying it, I'm not going to argue with you because I do think that it had this mystical quality to it, this charming, mystical, and they don't overdo it. Sometimes on the lake, you're just hearing what I think is like bugs and birds and different things like that. You're hearing your little fish finder, but at the right time, you're hearing these nice little melodic things. I'm sure there's only like maybe 6 tracks on this game. Yeah. Not a ton, but I think all of them are done really well.
So good. Yes.
We don't always name drop, but I'll say shout out to
Parker.
Akihiko Mori, the composer of this game.
Yeah,
shout out.
I did do great. I looked at some of Mori's other stuff, and it's not games that we would recognize. I don't think that they are anything significant.
Yeah, I'm not recognizing anything else. So a lot of Japanese titles.
I wonder if he's got some quality across the board. It'd be interesting to see what Mori's catalog is. This game, it's not probably going to surprise you, is a part of a series, the Black Bass series. It began in 1986 with the Black Bass for the Famicom, only in Japan. Okay. And then its most recent entry was Super Black Bass 3D, which apparently came out in 2011.
On what? PS3?
Super Black Bass 3D. I don't know if it's 3D. What is that? Nintendo 3DS probably?
Oh, yeah. Potentially. I could also really work on the 3DS now that I think about it. Or the DS. The double
Should
screen.
we get you that for your birthday?
Please.
It is Nintendo 3DS. Yeah.
Nice. Good guess.
I don't know, man. It looks kind of good. If you want a copy of this game...
I bet it's expensive.
It's only $12 used or loose. If you do want a new in-box, that is $101.
Cheap. That's doable. Come on now.
Yeah.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Let me do that again because, Kenny, last week you weren't centered. Are you centered this week?
I mean, I haven't moved.
He looks
Since
centered,
last week?
He looks centered on his camera.
I'm in front of my mic and I've been trying to not wiggle.
Like a worm bait?
At the each end.
Ooh. At the E.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Kenny? Fisherman Kenny, who, if we were on a stranded island, would save us. What do you say?
I would try.
Hatchet style.
Or eat you.
Lost.
That's a whole different episode, though. Here's the thing about fishing games. Translating the experience of fishing into a game, I think, is a little harder than some other sports. So, fishing, I'm sure I'll offend somebody, but it's not a spectator sport, and it probably shouldn't even really be. So that's my take. But other sports that make good video games are spectator sports and often team-based. There's a reason soccer games pop off and FIFA is a big old deal, right? It works really naturally as a video game. There's a reason football games are a big deal. Like, the people that play them, there's this, like, spectator strategy component to the game, and fishing is a completely different kind of beast. It's something, you're out there, you're alone, it's a kind of spiritual experience. You're not competing against other people, but against yourself and the fish, and like it's just a hard thing to translate into an enjoyable video game. And we whined a little bit about the length of the tournaments and some other things that are a reality here.
But
so I say that a lot. All of that to say, BBB, because I refuse to say Bassin's Black Bass, it's too many words. BBB does a fine job of this. It's not a perfect game. Some of the menuing and the interfaces need to be cleaned up. There's some real clunk there that we didn't talk about that's annoying and really got on my nerves. There need to be twice as many tournaments, and they need to last a third of the time. Like, it's just too much. But that said, for an SNES title, this game absolutely delivers on the premise it's trying to communicate. The genre means a lot of people won't care for it at all, but despite that, it absolutely deserves NGP status. Well made, thoughtful, interesting, challenging, makes you earn it, and it's absolutely the game that it was trying to be. So, bravo, go check out this game, NGP. Absolutely.
that's a thumbs up.
That was a lot, but yeah, thumbs up.
I am somewhat undecided, honestly. I came into this episode thinking that I was not going to give it my vote for New Game Plus status, and I might still.
Wow.
But I am debating. Here is where I am. I think this is my struggle. I think this is probably one of the better fishing games, at least retro, that you're going to play.
Sure.
However,
at least pre-haptics.
I said retro, so yeah, I guess pre-haptics. This is probably, and maybe not even probably, this is the best fishing game that you're going to play pre-haptics retro. However, it is still a fishing game, and so it's not for everybody, and it is a much slower video game experience than you're going to get with most video games. And so for a lot of people, I think the majority of people, it is not going to be something that is enjoyable. For me, this week, I went back and forth. It was great to have those nostalgic memories resurface. It was fun when it was fun, and it wasn't fun a lot of the other time. I'm not going to give it my vote for New Game Plus status.
Whoa.
I think that there's a lot of redeeming qualities about it, and if you're in the market for a retro fishing game, then do this one. I think it's one to know about, but not necessarily to for everyone to play. So no New Game Plus status for me.
Wow. The frustration I spoke of earlier about, well, yeah, sure, not having haptic feedback, which didn't exist. No one knew about it at the time. Bothered me. I mean, it prevented me from catching fish. It caused a lot of frustration pretty much every cast. So that's a problem because you're casting a lot, and so when that's happening, you're kind of you're fighting an uphill battle, or at least for me, that's what it felt like. I really love the amount of detail that they put into the game overall. Like, again, with the lure choices, even though that's not as realistic, maybe. I mean, maybe it is. Being able to explore the areas and actually use a depth finder. Like, the list goes on of all the realistic choices that they made. I would have loved a fishing pole customizer, though. Like, if you could upgrade your pole, that'd have been sick. So, despite the frustrations, I'm with Kenny. I think this game is a fantastic attempt at making a fishing game fun and watchable. I watched Kenny stream it some with Dustin's coaching. And to your point in IRL, Kenny, just a fun fact, they are trying to make fishing more spectator friendly, where now there's like a you get like points based on how quickly you like unhook it, weigh it, and then put it back. Like, and so like they got somebody, they have a helper in the boat that's ready to like put it on the weigher to get the weight, and then so it's like a speed run now. And I don't know.
I want underwater cams.
Yeah, no, one day. So, I think the game is so fun despite the flaws. And I love that it represents the diversity of the console. You can have your Super Metroid on the same console as you have Bassin Black Bass, and both have their place and both are fun. Yes, it's a slower pace. Yes, it's a solo player game, but we need those games. And I really enjoyed my time with this game. I give it New Game Plus.
Super interesting and completely contrary to what I assumed was going to happen.
Same.
Kenny and I thought you were going to hate this game. Or at least I did.
I thought I was, and I thought you were going to love it, especially after you coached Kenny and knew so much about the game.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Black and Bassin's Black Bass with or without Hank Parker, 70-year-old man, 13 grandchildren, is New Game Plus certified. But what did you think on our YouTube poll? 12% said yes, it's worth playing today. 9% said no. So still yes wins, but 79% have never played it before.
No surprise.
That's about right.
We
I want
had
to take some of those people fishing.
many play along with us. More write-ins this week than last week's Fire Emblem game.
Okay, I take a bit of an issue with that, actually. Y'all need to wake up.
Max Mister said Bassin's Black Bass with HP, a game that once seemed like a... Oh, this is a... Here, let me give it the justice it deserves. A game that once seemed like a Larka, but after playing, I can say, it should be avoided without delay. The graphics may seem fine and the gameplay easy to define, but the glitches and bugs abound, making for an experience unsound. The fish don't always bite and the controls just don't feel right, and when you finally do hook one, the joy is quickly over and done. So my advice to all, before you decide to install, is to steer clear of this game and save yourself from frustration and shame. Needless to say, no New Game Plus from me.
Bars.
2 things. It's a cartridge. You don't install it.
Ooh.
2, next time I go fishing and the fish don't bite, I'm going to say it's a bug with the universe.
This lake is glitchy, dude.
This lake is glitchy.
We
These
should.
devs need to increase the drop rates
Where's
on
the
these fish
update?
bites.
Keek,
patch
who
3.
had caught the largest fish until Kenny came around,
Okay.
said, I thought someone must be joking when this game was selected, in a Patreon pool no less. Fine, I'll play along with the gag, I thought to myself, so I dove right in, eager to tackle some serious fishing. There's some depth here. You choose where to cast, which lures to use, and how to reel it all in. Fish are attracted to certain lures depending on location. Different species react differently when hooked. There is some jank. Now I can believe my lure would break on rocky areas, sure, but against some reeds? That's fishy. When a fish finally takes hold of your line and you fight to get it in your boat only to realize it isn't even eligible for weigh-in, that's just krill punishment. I was able to net a physical copy for $5. This game that I would never have even acknowledged before this week delivered a bit of joy. Maybe I'm too far in the weeds, but I'd play this game over Balls 3D or Shrek Hassle at the Castle.
Fish puns are the low-hanging fruit of the
Yes,
puzzle.
and that's why I sang Barracuda this week, because I was already hearing and seeing tons of fish puns, and it felt like I would have had to be a bottom feeder to do that, and so I just went with something absurd.
Okay, it's better because they've all been taken and used 60 times.
Yes. By Kenny. Hot Tamales said, I'll jump in and say,
good.
BBB, you have been relatively good unless I go back and listen to this and
You know
you've been
not
doing
to
it all
encourage
throughout.
him.
No, I haven't been sneaking them in there.
You don't look for one in that.
I'll jump in and say BBB for SNES is a boatload of fun. Yet I'm sure it had some folks crying a river this week. So here we go.
Okay, bro.
I ponder over fond memories of fishing and playing video games with my dad and siblings. We used to play old PC games a lot, like BBB, so the nostalgia lured me to fish on. The options to change bait, move from spot to spot on the lake, live action depth finder, and fast reel return option made the game immersive and player friendly. The guide, John, seemed like more of a hindrance, so I weighed in my chances and anchored him to the shore. Afterwards, I hit my mark by realizing you use it to scan the area first in case there are only small fries or no fish at all. While this is not how real fishing works, real, spelled like real, of course.
Yeah.
It's more
You gotta-
engaging and waters down the difficulty of landing a nice catch. Still, I wouldn't recommend snagging this game to anyone unless they say they tackle both fishing IRL and retro video games. Many things are not up to scale with people's idea of FUN, which I think is a shout out to our director.
FUK.
So casting aside my bias, I must say no NGP.
Couple of questions for you. Kenny, what's your snack that you bring on the lake to fish? And why is it the peanut butter cracker, square cracker things?
He's not that sophisticated.
No, those are like C tier.
Please.
Okay,
They're
what is
perfect
yours
for the
Kenny?
boat?
What's S tier?
Grapes,
Good.
pretty
but
S tier.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He's
You
got
gotta
a
have
list.
a soda. You gotta have a soda. Like you gotta have
Squirt?
a Dr Pepper, or
Like a
something.
Mountain Dew?
A squirt would work. A squirt would be.
Second question, have y'all ever had bass, like fried bass?
don't
Yeah,
think
I'm
so.
sure.
It's delicious.
I've had
I
a
like it
lot of
better than
fish. I don't
catfish.
know if I've probably had bass.
It's really good.
And then finally, Super Garbage Day, who submitted this game
Yes,
to the
yes.
pool, said, "Okay,
Aw,
friends."
thanks.
So here is why this was one of my choices for the Patreon pool. BBB is one of those games that catches you off guard. A random birthday gift from my childhood. Little did I know it was so much more in-depth, addictive, and overall just completely different from its peers. You cannot find any other fishing game that combines an RPG element
I told you.
Don't.
and actual fish habitation behaviors, true to life lure selection and color schemes, risk and reward angler gameplay, and literal bass tournament style rules. Let's be honest, if you give this game enough time, it is extremely addictive, even if you don't like it. New Game Plus to the moon with Hank Parker.
Hank Parker's up there. He's going to heaven.
Wow. Okay, so
one day.
we are putting aside Bassin's Black Bass with Hank Parker,
Gold
and we
bass in
are
the sky.
not randomly selecting because it is time again for a redux.
Reed
Okay.
Ux.
Nice. The game that we'll be playing for the next 7 days is the second game we ever played on the podcast, a 1998 first-person shooter developed by Valve, published by Sierra Studios for the PC. It's the first in its series, and the game is called Half-Life.
So excited. I'm so excited. Y'all remember this made my top 10 of the podcast when we did that live stream? It was my second in the list.
Wow.
I love this game.
That
Yeah.
is aggressive.
I potentially like
This
it
is
better than
such
the
a
second
big
one.
title.
Yeah,
This
it's
is the first like humongous title that we played, and we played it early.
It's just
second
early
on
Steam,
the
It's
show.
humongous.
defining Steam as or Valve as a company, and like the games that we're going to be making, and just the whole feel of PC gaming in the 90s. I love it.
Now, it is PC. Is it going to be easy to play today? It is one of those that have been preserved, right?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Valve has made
Super
sure of
easy.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, grab again a copy of Half-Life and play it along with us this week.
Grab your tackle box and come on down to Discord. Discord.gg/newgameplus.
I'm going to avoid all the puns, even though I want to. Thank you to those of you who support our show on patreon.com, including our large list of producer-level supporters: Adam, Alex, Marley, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, DH Bowser, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, J. Robert, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Nick, Nat, Corey, Lawai, Levi, Maxima, Pedro, Sagen, Shauna, Subsonic Demon, Tazelhoff, Thomas, Unbedavable, and Zion. Thank you to our director-level supporters, who are the best, including Bro Jim, Daniel, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. We appreciate all of you and welcome anyone else who wants to join the New Game Plus family. Come on in.
You can get in our boat. You can
See,
also
I avoided them, and you couldn't.
follow us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. Please listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Half-Life. Until then, I'm still Smallmouth.
I'm still reeling them in left and right.
I'm crappy.
And this has been New Game Plus.